Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Post Credits Podcast, a podcast where we talk about movies. This is episode 6, and on this episode, we will discuss Moana 2 and our thoughts of where it sits in the film industry, especially within the Disney giant. I am
The
one of your
Disney sphere.
Disney sphere. I am one of your hosts, Grayson Maxwell. Joining me, as he does every week, is Roger. I wish I was a demigod stillion. How do you feel about that, Roger?
I mean, you're getting better at that.
Fair. Chris is on vacation today, so just be Roger and I flying solo. We'll flying a duo today. How do you
Yeah, well,
how do you
two
feel about
people
that?
do not fly solo.
I mean, we could fly solo together, which makes a
I
duo.
don't
But
think that's not no,
is that not how it works? All right, fair enough. Fair
no,
enough.
no.
What's going on, man? How's things? How's life your way?
So it was Thanksgiving this past week, so that was a good time. Good time. Got to have some dinner, have some drinks, hang out with the family. Mostly was okay. So that's about all I can really ask for most of the time. So
That's good,
how
man.
about you? How was Thanksgiving for you all?
It was not bad. I went to Portland to see my sister. It was on like a weird. I just decided and I checked. So one night I checked Tuesday night before I checked. I was like, oh man, it was way too expensive. Even from LAX to PDX Portland, it was so expensive. And then later in the very next morning, so sorry, that was Monday night. And then Tuesday morning, I checked again, and it had fallen like by half. So I just got a ticket,
Okay.
and I just flew to Portland to see my sister, which was a great time. I always enjoy seeing um, my older younger sister. We're the two middle children, the two that are lost the most. But it was a damn good time. She has a nice friends group. She had a couple of friends come over for Thanksgiving. A lot of people brought some. I got to be honest, very delicious food, which is what I
Delicious.
exactly what I want on Thanksgiving is just a bunch of delicious food.
I mean, who wants undelicious
I
food?
dude, I had someone brought a honey ham that was also like marinated in I forget what alcohol, but oh my goodness.
Rum ham, baby.
I
Let's
couldn't
go.
I couldn't get enough of it. I must have eaten a whole pound of ham, dude. 2 or 3 pounds of
Mm,
ham. It was
that's
so
good for the
good.
gut.
That's right.
Good.
So good. I had my fill of stuffing and mashed potatoes. I was comatose a couple hours later, but it was a good time. It was a good time. What about
Yeah.
you? What'd you eat?
So we did. I deep fried a turkey, which is something I've come very apt at. Pretty good at doing that, which is delicious if you've never tried it. It cooks way faster, way juicier. So like I'm convinced that all the things like our grandparents told us like Thanksgiving was super hard to prep for. Like they're just doing it wrong.
Mm.
Um, But it's like so like look, you just cook a bunch of stuff. Like I honestly, from start to finish, I cooked every meal or every piece of food that I cooked in less than an hour and 25 minutes to serve 17 people. So like yeah, maybe you're just bad at time management, grandma. Just saying.
I mean, Grandma lived in a different era with different like kitchen technology. So let's give
No, here's the
let's
thing.
give Grandma a break. Let's give
They
Grandma a break.
just overcooked their turkey.
Fair.
That's legitimately what the issue is.
Well, fair.
Like you ever had grandma's pork chops, brother? That's like eating fucking sawdust.
I mean, some grandma's pork chops.
Yeah.
Yeah, but sometimes that happens, man. Sometimes you just overcook the turkey, and that's what you're sitting with—an overcooked bird.
Yeah, well, listen, you don't want to undercook it
No,
because then people die.
because then death happens. So
Yeah.
you know.
So,
But ooh, you add some stuffing. Ooh, what's your? I gotta be honest. We had a discussion. Our
mhm.
least favorite Thanksgiving item, and I was appalled at how many people said cranberry sauce. I love cranberry
S-
sauce myself. Love it.
so my least favorite
Least favorite.
Thanksgiving thing is cranberry sauce.
Why? What's wrong with cranberry
So
sauce?
here's the thing: my wife loves cranberry
I
sauce.
love it.
So like, I'm the outlier in my immediate family. It's never really appealed to me. But like dried cranberries, like the raisin style cranberries, I love them. Like, think they're great.
Like ocean spray. Remember?
Yeah, like the little box that you get,
Yeah.
and yeah, like those are delicious. But like a big old wet plate of cranberries, no thanks,
Especially
man.
when you
Like
like dump it out of the can, it still has like the indent
like
of
the
the
jelly, like yeah.
yeah. I'll tell you
Like
what
here's the
though.
thing, that's just jelly.
It is. You are correct. I tell you what. I
Like the
really.
worst flavor of jelly too. Like you wouldn't
Eh,
be like, I put my cranberry jelly on my peanut butter and jelly. People are like, you're a psycho.
I
Like
don't
you don't.
mean
Nobody does that.
that might be pretty good, but my mom, my siblings and my dad love. It's like she makes this like I don't know what to even call it. It's like a pink thing with like a bunch of fruit in it, like a fruit salad, but it's in like a
Okay,
pink gelatin thing. They love it. I just every year I try and I'm like, you know what, mom, this is
just
not
avoid
for
it.
me. Thank you for making it, but it's not for me.
Well, the other thing
Yeah.
too is I don't like. Apparently, the one of the biggest things my family loves that I don't like is like deviled eggs.
I don't like
We're
them. I
like,
love deviled eggs.
here's the thing. I don't mind like hard boiled eggs, but like the deviled eggs, they don't like. Here's the thing. I don't think they taste bad, but like everybody's like, oh, they're the best thing. I got to eat 40 eggs or whatever. Like, first off, that's crazy behavior. Who needs 40 eggs in their belly? But it's just like, man,
I love
nah.
deviled eggs. They are so bad for you, though. They are so bad for you because
I
of all the
mean,
stuff in
you're
them.
just eating whole eggs
Yeah, but
and
like,
mustard and
yeah,
mayonnaise, and
mustard. It's the mustard and mayo that make it bad for you, man. The incredible amounts of mustard and mayo. But dude,
I
I
mean,
love them.
mustard.
Love them.
Yeah, it's just it is what it is.
There's not much I don't love, and stuffing, of course. You can make stuffing a million different ways. It is always good. Get some gravy. Oh man, Thanksgiving Day was good for me. I hope it was good for everyone who celebrated it. I really hope you got some tasty foods in your
Yeah,
belly.
I like to go above and beyond for Thanksgiving. Like I was just about to make my own from scratch turkey gravy, and I was told I didn't need to because somebody else had brought gravy. So I was
Nice.
like, huh.
Did you
Well,
deep?
no, I was just like, I thought that was it was taken from me. Like I was deprived from
Did
from
you
bringing that up.
did you deep fry your turkey this year?
Yeah, sure did.
Did you say that already? I may have not have caught that.
Yeah, I did. I did.
Because you've
But
been a fan of that for a couple of years now, is deep frying turkey.
so so I did it for like 5 or 6 years in a row, and then I didn't because we needed like a bigger bird. Because we had more people coming, because like you can only so like my thing for deep frying, it can't be like bigger than 15 or 16 pounds because like physically doesn't fit into the thing. um so this year I just did a small deep fried turkey, and I roasted a regular turkey for everybody else for them to eat like suckers. So, which I also did very well too. Like, here's the thing, I can make a damn fine roasted turkey, but I won't be doing that unless I absolutely have to.
We
I
had
also a couple years ago smoked a turkey, which was by far the most flavorful thing that I ever did. It has to be. It's not as like set and forget. You know what I mean? Like it requires a little bit more effort.
yeah,
So,
I definitely hear you on that. I what do you prefer, ham or turkey on
ooh,
Thanksgiving?
so
On Thanksgiving.
on Thanksgiving, I mean, we do. My sister brought a small ham because she doesn't like turkey, so I definitely had a slice or two of ham. But I mean, Thanksgiving's turkeys like that's
That's
what
turkey's
it's what
holiday,
it's there
man. Yeah,
for.
that's exactly
That's
right. That's how I feel
But you know
too.
something that I do appreciate, right? Because like this is by far the best time of the year to buy a turkey for obvious reasons. Like if you buy a frozen turkey, like it'll stay frozen indefinitely. Like you can bust one of them bad boys out in like July.
It won't go bad.
Like
Like
no,
if you,
no, no, they're frozen solid, man, and they're sealed. So
I guess you're right.
yeah, just be like, hey, 4th of July, baby, let's eat some turkey.
Turkey. Hey, look, it's always good to eat turkey. Well, that's been turkey talk on
Yes,
Post Credits podcast. Well,
this is an anti-cranberry
it's funny
podcast.
because like
I'd
we
like.
had so for the next 2 days, of course, we had leftovers, and like I
Oh
was
yeah,
sad
dude,
to
we're still
see.
going. We're
Yeah,
still going through leftovers in my house.
I sad to see him go, man. Thanksgiving is a damn fine holiday that I just love to eat. I just love food, so that's why I just love food, man. So
Well,
yeah,
it's like I have some buddies and like my wife and them that they all have to go back to work for the first time because like I've already returned to work. They're like, I've been off for like 5 days, and I'm like, oh, life is so hard after the
yeah.
holiday.
Well, I mean, we got
Boo
another one.
hoo for
We got
you.
another one a few weeks later, so
Yeah, it is weird that like Thanksgiving being late this year. Like it's already December, like which is fucking wild to me. So
isn't it always the last Thursday in November? Am I wrong
yeah,
about
but
that?
like this is like as late as it really can be.
You know what else?
Um,
I heard something else that blew my mind. Is this is the last year for daylight savings time? Is that
that's not true.
okay? Because I don't. Someone said that. I was like, "There's no way that cannot
No.
possibly be
Well,
true."
here's the thing. One thing to think about. So, like, I know you are on the other coast right now, so it's a little bit different for you. So, where I am at, and where me and Chris are always at, is we live in Ohio. And in Ohio, if we don't have daylight savings time, now the sun would stay up later in the day, but there would be times during the darkest part of the wintertime where we wouldn't get the sun wouldn't come up here till after 9:30 a.m.
Mm, that's that's rough, man.
Yeah, so that's not ever going to be a thing that happens. I don't think.
Well, I mean, I don't know because they've been talking about that for years. I don't know if they're actually going to do it, but
Yeah.
I heard that. Anyway,
But the other thing
we
is, we'll all die. We'll all die in the climate wars anyway, so it won't matter.
I you're probably not wrong about that. Enough doom and gloom talk. Let's talk about some other things. Once again,
What do you
folks,
think I talked about at Thanksgiving?
doom and gloom, knowing you. Doom and gloom. Capital D, capital G, doom and gloom, baby. Once again, folks, this is episode 6 of Post Credits Podcast, where we talk about movies. This week, we have the good fortune to talk about Moana 2 with you. As always, we're going to start with the box office. We have a movie recommendation brought to you by Roger within the Disney sphere. And then
Sphere.
we're going to talk about where we think Moana 2 sits in that sphere, and then some iconic Disney songs. And then we're going to go into Moana. So without any further delay, we should hop into the box office. And I'm very happy to report it's a very healthy Thanksgiving box office, I think. Moana 2 is the winner. 135.5 million domestic, bringing its
Nice weekend.
worldwide, very good, to 386, which is a
Nice.
great number.
Yeah, it's a good weekend.
Wicked had another very decent weekend at 80 million domestic with a worldwide of 359, despite being lapped by Gladiator 2 last week. It has caught up and sped ahead of Gladiator 2,
Yep.
which is did another very respectable 30.7 million, sitting at a very comfortable 320 worldwide, which is very good. That's a very respectable number. Red One, 12.9 million, sitting at a 148. I'm sure they did not expect that to accumulate so little, that's for sure.
They may have not. I definitely did.
The best Christmas pageant ever, number 5, just squeaking in at 3.3 million, sitting at 32 million. That's a disappointing number, but the other ones are good. I think making the whole weekend, the whole like Thanksgiving weekend, a very successful movie theater weekend. So I'm very happy for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
6 through 10, Bonhoeffer, Pastor, Spy, Assassins, number 6. Number 7, Venom, The Last Dance. 8, Heretic, still in the top 10. 9, Wild Robot. And 10, A Real Pain. I'm happy. I'm actually kind of happy at that list. I wish there'd be more big stuff, making bigger dollar amounts, but I'm very happy with what we got. Very,
I
very
mean, like
happy.
we have two movies that are consecutive weeks, 110+ million launches, so that's
Yeah,
good. It'll be interesting to see next week about who takes the crown because Moana's numbers are a little bit inflated because of the weekend holiday. So
sure.
it'll be interesting when it goes straight up against Wicked throughout the week.
Oh,
About which one
it's gonna
has
get
more.
blasted. It's gonna get blasted. I that's my theory because
You think so? You think this is a one and done for
no,
Moana?
I don't think it. But you mentioned through the week. I mean, I mentioned when you said that like Monday through Thursday.
Sure.
I meant because like people who want to watch Wicked, they can get themselves to the theater. That target demographic can
True.
get themselves.
It is a decent amount older than the
Sure. I
Wicked
mean,
crowd, or excuse me, the Moana crowd instead of the Wicked
I
crowd. Sure.
think, and on average, the Wicked crowd is a bit older, so they have access to like cars and more of a way to travel. But who knows? I mean, Moana. I'm not to say that adults can't also enjoy Moana. They certainly can, but it's just
I
the
mean, it's less likely to draw a larger
sure.
adult crowd. That's accurate.
I would
So,
agree with that. But that's your box office. I'm very happy that it's looking better.
well,
Looking better.
here's the thing. Next week too. Next week's a soft. You know, there's nothing really big coming, so it'll be Moana or Wicked again.
There's a lot of soft weeks coming up, and in January starting. There's a lot of soft weeks on our horizon, which is a shame.
I remember looking at this list a few weeks ago, thinking, there might be some stuff. And as we get closer, I'm like, this ain't going to be nothing, man.
No, nothing indeed. But Roger, I'm going to throw it over to you because you had the recommendation for the week.
So yeah, my recommendation. So obviously we were talking about Moana this week. So I wanted to stick inside of Disney, and then I was like, I don't want to go like totally like newer Disney because like we've got some real bangers of Disney movies in the last 10, 15 years. I'm going back a decent amount older than that. But I mean, like I got to give respect to like Encanto. Both Frozens are great musical um, musical numbers that they have. Like they do, obviously Frozen for being like one of the most successful movies of all time. Give it credit for that. But so like I'm going with Aladdin.
Nice.
Like the iconic, like for me, what I consider one of the Disney movies, like the Disneyest of Disney movies. Um, so Aladdin came out this weekend, legitimately 32 years ago, which is fucking a wild thing to me.
God,
1992, just November 25th, 1992, which makes me feel really,
really
really
old.
old.
Yeah.
Well, and the fact that I watched this in a movie theater that no longer exists. And I'm not saying about or the ones that recently closed where I'm at because our AMC's actually are no longer in our area. Um, like it just doesn't exist physically anymore. So, um, but Aladdin came out in, like I said, November 1992. It was directed by Ron Clements and John Musker, duos. So that's something you notice a lot too with animated features. Grayson, you probably know that a
Of
little
course,
bit.
yeah.
Most animated movies have multiple directors. Happens all the time. This movie stars, God, such a list of people.
Yeah.
Robin Williams as Genie. Come on, man. Iconic. Iconic. We got Scott Wagner as Aladdin, Linda Larkin as Jasmine, Gilbert Godfrey as Iago, Jonathan Freeman as Jafar, and a bunch of other people that don't really matter, but that's the primary cast.
Frank Welker matters, isn't he Megatron's voice?
I mean, he is, but like he plays such a small role in
He
this
does.
movie.
Abu, right,
I mean,
right.
yes, he is there, and yes, he is Megatron,
Yes.
but which is awesome. But I mean, like, talk about some iconic stuff for this one. I mean, think of the songs that came out of this movie, right? Because like this is an Oscar winner. It definitely had a whole new world was the big one for it, and like the way this movie's animated, still to this day, if you pick up a remaster of it, have you ever watched any of these old Disney movies remastered to
I have.
4K?
I love him, yeah.
And I don't know how they do it, but man, it looks good. Like,
It does.
I mean, I think they tear them apart frame by frame and like relayer the shading, and man, it looks so good. And does a really nice job to bring the audio quality up to like the
Of course,
144
yes.
studio quality now, which is so much better than it ever used to be. But like Aladdin to me sticks out as one that like everybody could kind of resonate with because like if you were a little boy, like Aladdin was a cool hero, and if you're a little girl, Jasmine was like almost peak Disney
Yeah,
princess. You
like
know what I mean?
Warrior Princess, man, yeah.
Yeah, like just a complete badass. Could fight for herself. And got to make her own choices for once, which is something a lot of Disney princesses don't ever have the pleasure of doing. And like having somebody like Robin Williams, which unfortunately he's no longer with us, but having him voice that character and like take somebody who was already established and like take him into the stratosphere is just something that like is really just wow, like what a perfect combination.
It is,
I
man.
mean,
It just it really I mean, it's funny you bring that up because he ad-libbed so many of his lines and how strict the qualifications were for being considered is it got because they wanted and they liked his ad-libbing and they kept it in the film, it couldn't be considered for certain Oscars because of that. So, but it was nominated for others, but certain ones it couldn't win. But I mean, like you, if Robin Williams feeling it, you just let him go. You just let him riff, man.
well, imagine though having to go in behind him as an animator and be like, how in the hell am I supposed to animate his mouth to say that?
Well, or imagine even someone as big as Will Smith, who in the 2000 what 19 Aladdin
Was it
2020,
9? Isn't older than? Is it
I
19?
think it
I
was
guess I didn't. I
19.
didn't look, but yeah. So
Hmm.
yeah, the live action
Like
one.
coming at even as big as Will Smith is, as like as established as he is, like I would imagine he still felt like he had some massive shoes to fill with that role.
Well, yeah. I mean, like here's the thing. Will Smith is a list as you get. Obviously, his career doesn't quite shine what it did. After he slapped Chris Rock in the face, but that is what it is. But like he's very much a list. But
Yes, he is.
to step in as the role of Genie, anybody doing it is just a wild thing to try to because here's the thing, you're never going to outdo Robin Williams.
No,
So to even step up and be like, wow, okay, that guy did a good job is high praise, I think. But the problem with that movie too is that movie's only okay. Like for some reason they stretched that movie out to about 2 hours long. It's directed by Guy Ritchie, which is hilarious to me. Like
yeah,
people,
that's an odd choice, I
but I
think.
mean, here's the thing: he does a fine. It's fine. It's just, brother, this was Aladdin. Like much like the other um, live action movies, none of them have been particularly, great. The only one that I even think is good is the Beauty and the Beast one. Like I think that one was done really, really well. But again, though, we're getting a live action. I guess it's not a remake of the Lion King. But we're getting another Disney live action. In just a few weeks, which is a movie that the three of us, well, the two of us here today, but Chris included, we all hope Sonic 3 beats his ass.
I mean, look, I
So
don't, I don't. I mean, you guys want to keep saying that. I don't think it will. I hope Sonic does. I just don't think it will.
see, well, listen, then you hope it will too.
Yeah.
That's you want it to do that,
Here's
and
this.
that's
So
fine.
the big ones, if you, I mean, the irony behind because that was a big time for Disney. Like, well, like Beauty and the Beast was 2017. Aladdin was what?
19.
Lion King was what? 2018 or 2020? One of those two.
I think it
But
was 2020, right?
it may have been, but Aladdin, like they were all within a few years of each other. Like that's the big, like, who Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, and Lion King. Those are some of like the creme de la creme of the Disney lineup, and they all were just
Well, and then they did Little Mermaid too, and Little
yes,
Mermaid
recently,
is
yes.
like. So here's the thing: you. So obviously, like there are some one-offs for what are better Disney movies or what people consider Disney movies, but like early '90s Disney or like late '80s, early '90s Disney is like as peak Disney power as they had
As you get
with Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, and Lion King. 4 consecutive fucking bangers.
all
I mean,
nominated for like
like
Oscar after Oscar after Oscar.
multiple,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
Grammy award winning soundtracks, like
yeah.
entire sections of their park redone for these characters. You know what I mean?
Yes, it's just
Like that's how big of a deal that stuff is.
it's and then it just for Beauty and the Beast to come out and just be like, oh, that was okay. That wasn't what I expected. And then
Yeah.
Aladdin and Lion King to be, I would say, look, I don't, I use this word lightly. I would say disappointments only because their animated counterparts decades earlier were extraordinary.
I
And
mean,
that,
they're almost perfect.
that's just
And
the
when
real
you
kicker.
try to
Yeah,
replicate perfection, it
it's
never
tough.
happens.
It's
It
it's,
never it never ever
it's
happens.
just tough.
So
But it's just, yeah, I have such a fondness for those, and even the live action, I still do enjoy to watch because it triggers memories of when I was younger and just was,
I mean, the live
you know,
action Pinocchio is one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life.
hey, Pinocchio. Not
It's
not the
oh god, that was awful.
the Disney live action was with Tom Hanks was pretty atrocious. However,
Yeah,
the it wasn't
the
the
Guillermo del
Guillermo.
Toro Netflix
Yes,
one was that won an Oscar, and
that was nominated for several. Yeah, never
so
won.
that was a wild movie,
Yeah,
excellently done, and pretty dark. But what a movie that
and
was!
it beat
Like, give him credit for that.
and it beat the pants off of Disney, which is something that doesn't happen often. So
I mean, here's the thing: it has happened, and it is happening a little bit more. But I mean, it's still Disney's world. But I mean, like we talk about live actions for 1 second. Like I know we have recently talked. I think we talked about it on the Gladiator episode that they put out the like 1 minute teaser for the How to Train Your Dragon
oh
um,
yes, they did,
live action. And listen, man, that looks incredible.
dude.
Like
Ooh.
that dragon that is toothless looks like he walked off of the video screen and
Uh,
right into real life, and it's just like,
but like
whoa.
that first How to Train Your Dragon movie is so
It's a
incredibly
10. It
strong.
is it is a perfect
I
movie.
think it's damn close. If it isn't perfect, it's damn close. And
Like that
yeah,
trilogy is just banger, banger, banger.
it is above
Like,
reproach. If you ask me, is like
yeah.
one of the five, which I'm gonna hold in the discussion later. I'd like to within the Disney sphere. I'm gonna compare Moana to Frozen, Frozen Two, and Moana, and then also without the Disney sphere is gonna be the How to Train Your Dragon stuff. Because to me, that's just
Sure.
like that's the bar. That's where it's
Well,
set.
that's peak animation,
So
whenever you're talking about things that are because like look, Moana's a big deal.
it is
Like it
massive deal.
is one of their more modern things. It is a completely original story for them. Like it's something that they have harbored, and this is one of the few things that they've done for one of their original things that has gotten its own sequel that has been successful. So like I mean, they're working on one of their other things. Like they're doing a second Zootopia,
I saw that. Yep.
and that's one of that's one of their highest rated movies
Of
across
all
the
time.
board.
Yep. Yep.
It's like and like this isn't because like Zootopia is a different kind of Disney movie. Like it's not a singing dancing kind of movie. Like it's a good movie. Like it's a very good movie though, and like people just kind of neglect that as but like, oh, that's that weird like animal movie. Nah, man, it's way more than that.
I agree.
Like it's an excellent like film,
I
not just an
agree.
animated kids movie.
We're gonna see a lot more of that coming up.
I mean, like, look, it's hard to make good animated features that aren't just shoehorned into just being kids movies, but the ones that do it well.
Well, with going into let's segue into because Moana is one of the musical ones,
It
We
is.
have so let's talk about some of the iconic music from within the Disney sphere throughout the years. We pull out a couple of our own favorites.
Okay.
Let's just take a couple minutes and talk about that. I only bring this up because I recently revisited the first Moana, which I think is a really great film. I
It's
really
a good movie.
solid,
It's a good movie.
and it
I went
has
ahead and rewatched it before I saw Moana too,
it
as well.
has How Far I'll Go. Again, one of
Mhm.
those songs that like not quite like Omega level like mutant song, but like it's close. It's just
It's here's the thing. It's in the discussion, and
I
that's a
agree.
big deal.
I agree
It's a
100%.
big deal.
But some of the more iconic Disney music is like I had to like make a list, and as I was making a list, I had to
Mm,
like see more, and like I was like, oh, what about this one? Oh, what about this one? It's like there's
yeah.
so much greatness within the Disney sphere, as you called it, and it's so great to celebrate. But I guess some of mine, this is me personally, the ones that I have connected with, and I'm taking off because "Wish Upon a Star" is on a lot of a lot of lists as number one, and it literally became
It's Disney's theme
Disney's
song.
theme song. I'm taking it out of my
We're going to exclude that from discussion.
but things like the the Beauty and the Beast when they're in the ballroom and it's like Beauty and the
Beauty and
like
the Beast.
that's
Yep.
song to me is
Sung by
just
Angela Lansbury, by the way, which is
again
wow.
to me that's like especially like the animation style, especially in that time they did some weird stuff with the it was like groundbreaking and it looked amazing. It just and its
Well, yeah,
love
because
story and
it's like one of the ones where like the whole screen moves
yes,
with
yeah.
the animation, and yeah.
Absolutely, and that's the movie that I credit I've told the story many times to my friends and to you guys as well, but, that's just I mean, I watched Beauty and the Beast when I was a very young kid, and, like, I left that theater like, "I am going to work on movies one day. Dad, I
I mean,
swear to
it's a
you."
Beauty and the Beast is a perfect movie.
Yeah, Beauty and the Beast is my like, that's there's
Perfect.
nothing better. My
No.
another one would be Into the Unknown, Frozen 2. Again, I think
Okay.
out of Frozen and
One of the
Frozen
more
2
modern ones.
Frozen 2, I think Frozen 2 is the mammoth of a movie. I think Frozen 2 is incredible, but that's just me.
Well,
You know,
Frozen. So just 30 seconds on that is so Frozen was like a cultural phenomenon,
it was.
and so like I think people overinflate how good of a movie that actually was because like it literally like caught fire and like the song was everywhere.
Let It
Obviously, Let
Go,
It
yeah,
Go, which is on my list because for reasons obvious
of course.
that it sold like a trillion individual downloads and things like that. But like the difference between Frozen and Frozen 2 is like Frozen 2 took their own little established world and grew it up.
It did.
You know what I mean? Like they were like, we need to push this further. It's a little bit more serious. It's a slightly darker tone. And the music, well, it's not there's not all doom and gloom type of music, but it's not like there's no like smashing pop song. Like there is a serious ballad in that movie that's very powerful. And when you watch it on the screen about how like there's the flashing snowflakes and the icicles and like man, that was awesome.
It was good.
So
It
like
was
that one
excellent.
that one really stands out as something special.
It's like I like how you mentioned that like they grew it up, like they matured their characters a little bit, especially the
Sure.
sisters, and understanding what has to happen in order for like one of the sisters has to understand and accept what happens to her to understand the truth behind what is
Mhm.
a very serious situation. I mean, it's genocide is what it
Oh
is.
yeah,
But
well yeah, like
yeah,
you try to kill your entire
yeah,
yeah.
exactly. But that's the thing is like it's a much more mature story, and I think it's amazing. But even within that, Into the Unknown, it's like it's it's not quite Let It Go. It's not as poppy and it's not as like
No.
do 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 like it's not as like catchy as Let It Go. But I think it's every bit as good. My number three is Let It Go, because that's just another one I connect with. My number four is Colors of the Wind. I'm sure that's not.
Ah,
willing to
some
wager.
Pocahontas action, huh?
I'm willing to wager it's not on your list. However,
Buddy, that song won an Oscar.
it
It ain't it's not too far off that many lists.
I watched a ton of those. My mother bought me all the white clamshell Disney things. And I
Sure.
watched it.
So I got a stack of them,
It
baby.
was before so many of them that the Colors of the Wind, because they knew what they had in that film. They knew the power of that song. And there's also a song, for instance, in um, "If I Never Knew You" that Mel sings with the female lead that voices Pocahontas about if I never knew you, and then like it's a wonderful love ballad that they cut out of the theatrical run because they thought and they saw in their testing groups that kids were losing interest, which I understand,
Hmm.
I get. But they put it back into the director's cut when they a few years later on when they re-released it on DVD, brought it out of the vault, and it's just one of those songs that moves the hell out of me. and I also love Mel Gibson, so there might be a slight bias there. However, I think Colors of the Wind is the real dynamo of that film. And the number 5 for me is, of course, my Circle of Life, which is, thank you for that look,
Mm.
Roger. I appreciate that. I think Circle of
Mhm.
Life is, I sang that song, God, thousands of times when I was little. I loved it, man. I Circle of Life to me is one of those songs that will live in my head rent free forever.
You know, I love that you picked The Lion King and picked a song from Lion King and picked the wrong one.
You mean like Hakuna Matata?
No.
Which other
Can
one?
you feel the
Oh,
love tonight, brother? Come
that's
on.
Elton
Come
John. Yeah, Elton
on.
John. Yeah, another one of those.
Jesus
Yeah. But
Christ.
Circle of Life is one. I love it, man. I love
I
it.
mean, like, look, here's it's fine. And like, here's the thing: Aladdin had 3 banger
It
songs.
did.
Like this, this going at it. So, like, here's the thing. So, my list.
Go ahead.
Now we do have some overlap because I did put Let It Go, and so did you. But that's the only overlap we got. Now I did put When You Wish Upon a Star from Pinocchio
Fair.
in my list because it is Disney's theme song. Like the little whoosh,
It is by
like that's
definition the most iconic Disney song.
yes. Like there is nothing
That's
higher on the list. I don't
I
care how many times people have watched Let It Go on YouTube, which I'm sure is like 2 billion times at this point, literally.
Yep.
But like, so I went for the ones that resonate with me a little bit though. Like I went for so me and my sister watched Little Mermaid a lot growing
Man.
up, like Disney clamshell. So like Under the Sea,
Do, do,
great
do,
movie.
do, 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 do,
Love that.
do.
Yeah, like
Yep.
Broadway production style, like with crabs and seahorses and fish. Awesome. Um, I did A Whole New World, Aladdin.
Oh,
Something we
another
I already
that's another good
talked
one. Yeah.
about, which is like, man, what a great like in the scene where they're flying on the carpet, and like how like the landscape, like they slide down and they run their fingers through the sand. Like, man, like that is just what a great thing. And then so like I went a little bit different for one I think is like one of the biggest ones for me because we didn't talk about any like Pixar stuff, but like You Got a Friend in Me from Toy Story. Like, dude, it's the Toy Story anthem. So
I got no problem with
tell
that.
me,
I like
everybody knows that song, and it's just like, yeah,
here's the thing.
that's a
I've
good
for the
song.
most part I excluded the Disney Pixar because this is a Disney, so I exclude the Pixar. But it's I can't fault you for that one because that's as iconic as anything just under Wish Upon a Star. Like You Got a Friend in Me is some of the most iconic
Yep.
stuff in animated films ever. So I can't
Hmm.
fault you for that. It's a damn good song. Randy Newman. I can't, it's just there are so many powerhouse things, and I just like I wonder what happened to the ballads like from the '90s, the '80s, and '90s. The ballads of I wonder what like when they decided to throw that out.
I don't know.
But that's a shame. But so many of those great songs. Man, such a great list of songs. Other ones. So there's a ton of. I just want to run down a list real quick.
Okay.
Um, of so this is from Collider.
Okay.
Just a bunch of songs. I'm just gonna run through them.
Collider does a lot of lists, so
Some of the more notable ones. It goes from 30 to 1. Number 30 is Baby Mine from Dumbo. I'm going
okay.
down the list. 28, How Far I'll Go, Moana. That's a big one. Friend Like Me,
Sure.
number 27. A Hunchback of Notre Dame is on there. Winnie the Pooh.
All
Um,
those songs from that movie suck.
well, You'll Be in My Heart from Tarzan. Like I get why people like that. It's not. It didn't resonate with me, but I get why people certainly love that
Look,
one.
imagine when they're making Tarzan, and you're like, hey, we got Phil Collins to do some stuff, and they're like, yeah, really? They're like, oh yeah, we do. And like he goes out and just rips up and just like this is one of the best songs ever
If you
made.
got them, use them. And then Poor Unfortunate Souls, the Poor Unfortunate Souls from Little
Yep.
Mermaid, another banger, man.
Hmm.
Be Prepared, another song that like I forgot about, but it's awesome. It's an awesome with a bunch of history undertones, if you if you know what I'm talking about. So it's great. Remember Me from Coco is one of those songs I cried the first
So
time I
that's a
saw that.
tearjerker
Yeah.
song, man. Like that's sad, and like I
Whew.
don't think I've talked about it too much here. Like I have a slightly different opinion on some Pixar movies and some other people. So like my number one Pixar movie of all time is Wally, which is like
Fair.
the very much not the musical one.
No.
But like my number two is Coco because Coco is an incredible movie about leading introducing a family to death, and like that song resonates so powerfully at the moment that it's sung. It's just like wow, like
Dude,
instant tear up, man.
I agree.
Instant.
I'm not a big. I don't. again, it's one of those things, like, I admit I'm probably the problem here, but I was not as big
Yes,
on
definitely that.
I was
Whatever
not
you're
as
talking about, but yes.
fair. I was not as big as Encanto. I like We Don't Talk About Bruno. It's on my list. It's on my Disney Pixar, they got 100 tracks they go through and then repeats. It's on that list, and I hear it all the
Sure.
time at work. I'm not crazy about it, but I can understand certainly the appeal for certain people why they may like it, and that's, fine. It's just one I've never really personally understood.
So I think honestly, so Encanto is a strange movie because like it is a from what I hear from people with younger kids, and like if Chris is here, he'd attest to because I know his family loves Encanto, right? But the thing with that movie is it came out in such a weird time that it wasn't like this big commercial success like it probably would have been under like a non-COVID veil. So it's funny to think about that, like what that movie could have been, because like it has all the critical acclaim of all their
Of
best
course.
stuff,
Yeah.
and commercially, it's just not there because it just wasn't possible for it to do so.
No, well, I mean,
So
that's again, that's unfortunate, but it's just
yeah,
that's the card you're dealt.
yeah,
It goes down. Cinderella's on here, Beauty and the Beast. I want to go down to the top 10, which would
okay.
be so number 11 is Chim Chim Cheree from Mary Poppins, which
Mary
is
Poppins,
very,
okay,
and the same with what Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, like that's a very, again, iconic as hell. Number 10. Here's 10-1. Notre
okay,
Dame, The Bells of Notre Dame, Once Upon a Dream from Sleeping Beauty, Reflections
okay,
by Mulan, Let It Go,
okay,
Frozen, You've Got a Friend in Me, that's Toy Story, A Whole New World, Aladdin, number 4, Circle of Life, Lion King, number 3, Be Our Guest, another big one,
okay, sure.
massive
From
one,
Beauty and the Beast. So
Beauty and
I,
the
you know
Beast.
what?
Yeah.
I should have. Damn,
Yeah.
forgot that one.
I didn't even, like, I
That's,
have it on my list, I didn't even star it, that's a
yep.
shame. Number 2 is Part of Your World, Little Mermaid. Number 1, which is a drum roll, of course, is When You Wish Upon a Star by in Pinocchio. So, understandable.
Pinocchio.
And again, all these lists, they're all just a grain of salt thing anyway, so, I mean,
Let's go,
yeah.
Pinocchio.
Pinocchio, let's go!
God, I hated that movie so much.
It's just they're all grain of salt things because it's really hard to, quantify what's actually better than, it's all grain of salt what you prefer. I saw some lists with wildly different number 10s through 1s and, like, wildly different, choices, which is, I just wanted to give, kind of a point to, like, start from, but
You know, I guess it's funny that you brought up multiple songs or two. You said two songs from Hunchback of Notre Dame. It's
yeah,
like I basically forget that movie
exists.
exists
Yeah,
sometimes
me too.
because like it was right after like that peak stuff, and it was like, oh, it's the next one, and it was like, okay, this movie's okay, you know. But
Some
I
some
don't
of
know.
them just existed after other ones, popular ones.
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't you hate to be some of the ones that followed Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, and Lion King? Wouldn't you hate to
Well, and then
be?
Pocahontas is in that mix
That's
too.
right. That's right
Pocahontas
after.
is in between
No,
Aladdin. What is it?
no,
It's in
no.
between.
Aladdin. Wait, Aladdin was 992.
Yeah,
Lion King was 94. I think Pocahontas was
it was
95.
95.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So whatever
So yeah,
came
like
after that is just
yeah.
just such a shame. Like, whatever was next, it's just
I mean, Pocahontas still resonates very true in modern cinema because we
does.
have Avatar.
It's and we have Dancing with Wolves, and we have The Last
No, we
Samurai.
have Avatar
Yeah, fair.
and Avatar 2.
We do indeed. Yeah, so there's just some very iconic music, and I think it's. I mentioned the one from Moana because how far I'll go. I think it is one of those. It's probably in the conversation, like Roger said, of like powerhouse tracks from Disney. Very iconic. Like, immediately what you're listening to, who sings it, what they're doing. You just remember it. I do think that is the case, and we'll talk about later. Is my personal opinion is Moana 2's music is so I've already forgotten it. I saw it
Sure,
2 days
yeah.
ago. Like, it's already out of my mind,
Yeah.
and it's unfortunate. But
So, can I ask you a Disney question?
yes, you can.
Just a Disney in general. So, obviously, Disney has been quick to adapt to CGI and they do it very, very well,
Of course.
okay? Like they don't on their animated stuff because I guess all the Marvel movies are technically Disney, so I've seen them do bad CGI, but like their CGI animated stuff like Moana um and all their Pixar stuff looks incredible.
It
Like
does,
looks great.
of course.
One of my most favorite Disney movies is Big Hero 6, which is one of their in studio ones. Looks great. Love it. Do you ever think Disney will go back and do a hand drawn style animation movie again?
Yeah, of course. I mean, everyone loves
So, well,
nostalgia.
so I thought you might say that, but I will ponder. I will bring out. I don't think they ever will, and because and the reason for that is because, do you know, like, they haven't done a hand drawn style one in over 12 years.
Doesn't mean they won't, though. It doesn't mean they won't.
Well, here's the thing: every day we get farther from it, it's less and less likely. I
What was the
think.
last one that they did? If it's
I
12
don't
years
know.
ago.
Let me go look.
Well, hold
It
on. You
might
said
just
over
be
12 years, so that would have been
yeah,
2012
yeah. Let's
ish
go.
somewhere.
Let's see. Last Disney hand drawn
I wonder
animation.
what
We'll
that
just
could have
do
been.
last hand drawn Disney movie. First thing comes up. 2011. I was almost right on. That was their Winnie the Pooh one.
Okay, well that makes sense to be the. I mean, that makes
Yeah.
Winnie the Pooh was very there at the
So
beginning.
13 years. Sorry, I was off by
No,
just a
it's a,
minute.
but that's notable and very interesting. But I mean,
Well, because here's the thing though, they have gotten some pushback from some of the live action stuff. One, because they've come out and been wildly expensive,
yeah.
and two, they have not had any real commercial return. Beside, I mean, Aladdin did pretty well, and Lion King did gangbusters, but like that movie's pretty not good.
Well,
So
Beauty and the Beast broke the $1 billion. That's a big deal, I think, for a live
sure,
action animated
sure,
film.
but like then we have things like Dumbo,
Yeah,
Pinocchio,
which didn't do
like
much. Yeah.
they're awful. They're fucking awful movies.
Yeah.
And it's like, why do we go down this path to make these movies and make them worse than, I mean, because I understand, like, look, with Dumbo, you have to change some stuff,
Of
and
course.
like, because, if you don't know, if you haven't watched the 1940s Dumbo in quite a long time, if you go back and watch it to this day, you will see there's a lot of racist stuff in there.
A lot of
And like,
drugs,
look,
drug stuff too.
yeah, a lot of drug use. Well, Pinocchio is about a little kid drinking alcohol.
Yep.
Like, and like, look, I'm not trying. Listen, I'm not going to be the guy to be like, well, you could never do that in these days. Like, look, I'm not that guy. I'm not Mr. Retroactively blame Disney for shit that happened 70 years ago. Like, I'm not that guy. But like, you can't obviously when you redo when you change the animation style and redo it, like you can't have that stuff in there. Like, I'm not stupid. They're not stupid.
No.
But like the stuff that you put in there isn't entertaining.
No.
So like
That's a whole
you
different
should
discussion.
try
Though.
harder or not touch it anymore.
That's a
Like
that's a
that's how
very
I feel about it.
that's a very
Like some of this
different
stuff is
discussion.
just don't go down that route.
I
So
don't disagree with you, man. That's just a whole different discussion, though. Is like what happens, and that's a whole different episode. But
I mean that and the fact that me and you joked about before we started about stuff that they don't even talk about anymore. Like the Song of the South. Like
well,
that is a movie that they have
yeah,
basically scrubbed from their existence.
there are
And like,
several
look,
movies that
I
they don't.
totally understand why,
Of course,
but like it's out there, it exists.
yeah,
You know,
it is.
I mean, shit. They even wiped it out of their It's like Splash Mountain, like their most iconic ride. They was based on that film.
So let's
So
before we go into Moana 2, I want to read to you. So this is from Rotten Tomatoes. This is the top 10 Disney movies based on Rotten Tomatoes score, which is already kind of it's a weird system to begin with. It's a very antiquated system to begin with. But here we go. Number 1 to 10. So the best to the 10th best.
so you go 10. No, go the other way around. Go 10.
Okay, I'll go
Yeah.
10 to 1.
I always go 10-1.
Beauty and the Beast, which
That's number 10.
number 10, brother.
What the?
Well, hold on. Fantasia 9.
Okay, so I almost talked about Fantasia for a minute, but we decided it's a little bit wild of a movie to talk about.
agree.
So Fantasia's crazy. Go back and watch it. It's still pretty rad.
Dumbo.
Now, like, do some drugs and then watch it.
Dumbo number 8. Talking about drug use. Dumbo number 8. I'm not.
Hey.
Aladdin number 7. Moana number 6 of all time.
6.
I know. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs from 1937.
Hey, look, we're
Cinderella.
getting a live action of that, which may be a cursed film.
Dude, I don't even want to.
Maybe a
We could
cursed
do
movie.
a whole episode on that.
Hey, look, maybe we will.
We will. Cinderella from.
I kind of hope so.
The Cinderella, 1950s, number 4. Number 3, 101 Dalmatians from 1961. This one blows me wild. Is Zootopia, man? What? Like, look, I understand it's.
Well, I just talked about how rad Zootopia is. I just talked about that.
It is, but I just don't think it's number 2 of all time, and it is in the Disney stratosphere.
Well, I mean, we're talking about Rotten Tomatoes ratings, right?
Sure,
like,
which is a grain of salt.
so
Yeah.
so what is it? It's like, is it 99, 98?
98%. So what? 98%.
What is above the Toy Stories?
Dude, none of the Toy Stories were in the top 10. I hate to break it to you.
Whoa.
Dude, I know. And what blows my mind even further is Raya and the Last Dragon, number 11, number 12, Lady and the Tramp, 13, Lion King, 14, Encanto. What? Bambi, number 15. Like, that's the top 15. 16 and 17 I have to go to because I saw them. Little Mermaid and Big Hero 6. Like that's a wild list to me. That is
I
a
love Big
wild
Hero 6. Love
some
it.
some of
Personal
those
favorite.
incredibly misnumbered, but again, whole different episode for that. So
I have a red shirt that just has Baymax's head on it.
as you should,
Looks awesome.
as everyone
Yeah.
should.
Everybody should
Um,
have one of those.
we are long in the tooth, but Disney's
No, what was number one?
Pinocchio.
Oh,
That's 100 on Rotten Tomatoes. But we are long in the tooth, but Disney's one of the things we love to discuss the most. We're all
I
kids.
mean, here's the thing.
You know,
It's easy to talk about. And like, look, if you ask 5 different people their top 5 Disney movies, you're going to get like 20 different answers. Listen, they may overlap in some form, and I don't disagree with that. But like, not everybody's going to have the same top 5.
I
It's
agree.
just not going to be that.
So let's talk about Moana 2 for a little while, Roger. Let's do it. I'm
Okay.
kind of psyched to talk about it. But before we do that, a little bit of backstory. Moana 2,
Sure.
so for comparison, Moana 2016, the Rotten
Mhm.
Tomato score, 90,
I can't believe it's been 8 years, by the
it's,
way.
dude, it's
Doesn't feel like that.
not at all. 95 and 89 in the tomato and the popcorn meter. And
Sure.
the Metacritic for Moana, 81, which is a damn good score.
Ooh.
I know.
I mean, first Moana's pretty good, man.
Let's turn our attention to Moana 2. Tomato meter 65, popcorn meter 87. Not so good. Not so good indeed. And then the Metacritic is a 57. How the mighty have fallen. Now, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, so let's do our thing. We do our little countdown, and we'll say, "Oh, thumbs up, thumbs down." So, you ready?
Yes, sir.
All right, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah,
So,
I'm gonna give it a
okay.
thumbs up, but it's
Well,
kind of just barely a thumbs up. You know,
so I did that. I did it like last week or 2 weeks
like
ago, when I was just like,
Gladiator. Yeah,
it's like here though. Like it's not down. It's like if there was a 2/3 mark,
I
I
agree.
think that would be
Here's the
perfect.
thing, because it's especially with the movie, like this is very appropriate for Gladiator because that's what the Emperor did.
Yeah,
But
of
like
course. If
it's
I had a paddle, I could spin it to even.
it's right. It's I think the conversation of that is nuanced because it's same with Moana. Like I think Moana is a better movie if you remove the first one from the from the picture, but you can't remove the first
No,
one.
you,
You just
you
can't.
can't, because it relies directly on
So
it,
that's
because
why
it
for
is a
me it's
direct sequel to it.
so that's why for me it's like yeah, it's positive, but not like super positive, but it is positive.
Yeah.
So
Well, here's the thing. So I don't have a lot of negative stuff to say about Moana in the aspect of like, normally if I have something negative, like I'll try to like lean in and chew it up or whatever, which is fine. Like I'm okay with doing that. The real problem that Moana 2 has, and we'll talk about the figures in 1 second, is Moana 2 has to live up to Moana 1, and it just falls short in like every capacity.
I agree.
Like if Moana 1 wasn't there, Moana 2 is fine. But
I agree.
Moana 1 is there
There.
and it's so good.
Same
Moana 2 is just like, meh,
same with no
okay.
sequel. Same with Gladiator. We talked about last
Yeah.
week. It just didn't measure up, and that
No, it's
maybe we were a bit hard on the second Gladiator, but it just didn't measure up.
I listen, I regret nothing I said about Gladiator.
Fair.
Cuz like, look, the movie doesn't deserve, like, you go at one of those type of movies and you don't live up, you're going to get thrashed for it.
I
So,
completely agree. All right, so let's get in the cast real quick.
okay,
Leo Cravalho, that's of course returning from Moana. Dwayne Johnson
Moana
is
herself.
the Maui. He's the very iconic Maui. Hualalai Shong as Moni. Rose Matafio is Lodo. David Fain is Kaylee. And another, I'm glad he came back, Tamora Morrison, who is all of the Stormtrooper clones himself. He's Chief Tiu, and I'm glad he came back. I was worried he wasn't
Daddy.
going to come
He's
back.
daddy.
He's the chieftain.
Well, here's the thing. He sounds like he mailed it in here, brother.
But they all do. Here's a question I have for you, and this is a serious question, Roger. Please don't.
Okay.
So Alan Tudyk, he's very well known. He commands somewhat of a decent salary. He was Hey, and
Mhm.
all he did was like.
So
what
did
was
I
his vibe?
show you? Did I send you the video of Alan Tudyk going through, like, they would go through his lineup of the voice work that he's done. They would call out the name of the character, and he would say something like immediately in like their line, like
No.
with their dialect or whatever. I'll have to try to
Oh
dig
yeah,
that up, because, like, look, Alan Tudyk by himself is an impressive, like, actor. Like, his voice work, goddamn, that man is talented. Like,
yeah. He is. He's got real
I would
talent.
love to have a beer with that guy for real,
He's
and
got
like
real
just
talent.
hear his stories, man.
He
Like,
definitely does.
A+ talent.
So, I mean,
A
it's
plus.
that's the thing is with Moana 2 though is the cast has come back, which is, that you have to have
You have
returning
to.
cast.
But here's the thing: you have to have at least two.
I
You
agree.
don't have a Moana movie without Moana and Maui. Like, right? Non-negotiables. You got to have them.
I would agree with that. You
Like
gotta
you
have
could.
both.
So here's the thing: like inevitably, when there's a Moana 3, like it has to have them too, right?
I don't think it's gonna be Moana 3, and I have my reasons for that.
Oh
But
well, okay.
well,
All right.
they have the live action in 2026, which
I
does
I don't think that matters for that
you don't
though.
think really? So I imagine it would matter, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I mean, they don't want to have two of the same universe, different timelines, though, do they? I mean, that's just
Here's the thing:
me.
I have no idea because they've never done that before. So,
So Moana 2 is a direct sequel to the first Moana, and
yep.
Moana is out being a wayfinder, looking for other islands, other people, because this is
Other people.
ancient Polynesia or Polynesian islands, and it's just they're looking for
Aren't
other
they
people.
Maori? Aren't they the Maori
I
people?
thought they were Polynesian.
I mean, it's
Maybe I'm
very
wrong.
similar
Sure.
culture. So
And it just continues from the adventure we had in Moana we had Moana and, what's his name? Maui, the
Maui,
demigod voiced by Dwayne Johnson, taking down what had become another god, Taka,
the
and
lava monster.
return the heart to the heart of the ocean, Titanic. Return the heart to,
How
um,
much do you think that jewel was worth? We talking like 100+ million, right?
we're talking like billions of dollars, Roger.
Billions of dollars.
Dude, it's a priceless
And she
artifact.
just fucking tosses it. Like, what a dumbass.
Dude, you mean in Titanic? Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, several $100 million at the very least. Yeah, maybe. I was thinking of, like, the ocean, the stone from Moana, like, "What? That's a priceless artifact."
Like,
Um,
all that woman can think about before she fires that jewel into the ocean was the fact that she banged this dude on a cruise ship like 80 years ago. Like, and then went on to have like a successful like husband, multiple kids, and she just don't care. She's like, nah, fuck them. Gone.
this is what you people come here to listen to, Roger, right
That's
there.
right. That's right.
I agree. It's
In the
just
middle of a Moana talk.
amen, brother, amen. Let's talk about it. So, your first take on Moana. Mine was I was underwhelmed
Yeah.
by the spectacle, albeit it looked gorgeous. It always looked
So
great.
yeah, so that's one thing. One of the points I was going to give it like this movie's a pro for because like Moana, the original Moana, like it really dives into a lot of bright colors and things like that. But like, dude, in this movie, when when they're fighting the storm towards the end of the movie, and like you have the purple lightning, and like Maui's hook is charged up bright blue, like it looks awesome. Or like when she gets her tattoo and it's all up her arm and it's like shining in gold, like that just looks incredibly, like it just stands out. Like that is A+ animation and good for them for doing it.
Very expensive
Like
too. I
lean
imagine
into.
it's super
Oh
expensive,
yeah.
but
I never did look up a budget for this movie. Did you?
no, I didn't. I
I
didn't.
will. Go
Can
ahead. Go ahead. Do
imagine.
your spiel and I'll
Well,
take a peek.
the director, as in animated fashion, there's 3 of them: Dana Ledoux Miller, David G. Derrick Jr., and Jason Hand. There's a lot going on in this movie too, so I imagine that's why they need multiple because you got so much going on with so many moving parts. You can't dedicate one person to all that, or else it would take forever to finish. So you've got to have different directors doing different things, which I completely understand. Uh,
The reported budget for this movie is 150.
you know what? That's about what
Here's the thing.
that's
I
about what
think that seems very appropriate for this
I
movie
agree.
because like this movie, the one thing about this movie too, is this movie's a hard 90. Like it's like 94 minutes,
I
like
agree.
just banger straight through.
And it's my second thought was it seemed like a lot of the performances were they did it for the paycheck and they phoned it in, which is again very unfortunate for a Disney film because Moana was a big tentpole release for them, and the
Yeah.
sequel just didn't. It's just again, it's not in my mind at least not measuring up. So it's but it's a shame though because it's a weird place to sit though, Roger, because it's a sequel to a movie that was great. That's probably if you remove the original one is probably much better, but it's just I don't know how
You
to
can't.
take.
You can't do that though.
I don't think
But
you
so
can
like you said you were underwhelmed, right? So
very.
like I'm not overwhelmed or underwhelmed, but like I'm not quite properly whelmed either, if you know what I mean. Like this movie is just sort of eh,
You didn't get
okay.
you didn't get the proper amount of whelming.
Yeah, there
Well,
was I wasn't whelmed properly. So, but it's like I'm not trying to like make it some sort of like joke, but like this movie really is kind of just average,
Yeah.
and it's not ever bad. Like I don't like I don't think this movie at any point is like this is terrible. You know what I mean? But at no real point besides the animation and how it looks, I'm like, hey, this is cool. Because like even the story, the one thing that I thought was going to be like good, it's only kind of mediocre. Like the crux of the story, and listen, I'm going to dumb it way down. And here's the thing: I don't really care about spoiling Moana, by the way. So if I do, and you're offended by that, I'm sorry. But like the point of Moana here is like they get teamed up with Maui again because of course they
Of
do,
course they do.
and they have to break this curse so they can find the other people out there, right? And basically Maui has to pull an island out of the ocean and she has to like they have to set foot on it to break the curse. Now, I'm not going to tell you how it goes about because it's actually an okay little like bit of storytelling and animation to get to that point. But he, he's flying in the air as like Falcon Eagle Maui, like with his hook planted in like what looks like an aquarium castle, pulling it to the sky. Like that's the big moment in this movie, and it doesn't ever feel as good as anything from
Well,
Moana.
that's the big moment, of course, is what the fate of two of the characters is in
Sure,
question. And but I mean, one may perish, but they're both not going to perish.
not ever.
And if they both
No.
don't perish, then neither one of them will perish. I know it's a weird like logic line, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
It's this
You could have one without the other, but not the other without the one.
no, but also when one happens, the character didn't really have a proper like what could have been construed as a goodbye, so you knew they're not gone anyway. So it
Yeah.
doesn't matter. And it's what I think made the original one of those moments of whoa, that's interesting. Is this when they were completely out of ideas and everything was they had been beaten. Taka, the lava monster, had beaten them. The sea splits, and she just there's that awesome iconic shot of her just walking from right to left in the screen, like she's got nothing left except to try
Yeah.
this one last thing, and then the lava monster is crawling towards her, kind of terrifying looking. And
Yeah.
then she steps up on the rock and like does the does the hiccup thing with the hand, only with her head, and like that worked. Like that's a great moment though because that is honorable and willing
Yeah.
sacrifice, what all heroes do. And there's a moment in the second film that is that too, but it's not. They don't address it properly.
It's not really there.
They
Like
don't.
it just doesn't like you see what they're trying to do, and I definitely agree with that. Like they're definitely trying to evoke that same emotion. It just doesn't have the gravitas to do it.
I agree with you. The best part I had about this, and this is not, I'm not, I just like the merch. Is first of all we have the popcorn bucket, which I like. I think it's
Okay.
kind of pretty. And we have this little guy here, which is my
Did you
favorite.
get to yeah.
It's a the thing pops up here, and it's like I was just sipping out of it the whole time.
Yeah.
It's just fun, but like that was just
You should start day drinking out of that thing.
I shan't. But
Why?
I don't know. It just seems weird to day drink, but I'll leave him there. But it's I think it makes the movie more fun when you have popcorn, you have drink, especially with a Disney film like this. It just that schlock. But the one thing I think would agree with you is I
Buddy, I once spent $50 on an Optimus Prime
you
popcorn
did you
bucket.
did
Like I believe in schlock.
fair.
I can be tempted by shiny things.
One thing I expected was a strong, very linear narrative story, and I didn't get it.
No.
I don't know why they're so afraid of. I don't know why they're so afraid of doing the How to Train Your Dragon did it properly. Hiccup and Astrid, they meet in the first one. There's kind of a weird little flirty. Then the second one, they're a thing, and the third one, they get married. And there's kids on the way. It's like that's
Yep.
the proper way to age up your characters.
Mhm.
I don't want to say like I'm the be all end all. I'm just saying like we've seen Moana be the wayfinder in the first one, the fearless girl that goes out and finds the problem, solves it, and brings fortune and good luck back to her people while also
Yep.
saving her people. And this one, it's just a remake of the first one. That's all
Yeah.
this is. It's just
Well,
told a
and
different way.
and with Moana too, we have no idea that she's demonstrably older and like how much time has passed in between the first one and the second
Well,
one, where we can tell.
the little sister, I think, is the only way you can really mark any kind of time.
Yeah,
And
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 it's
the grandmother
not
passing.
much.
and
Well, grandma passed. Yep.
the Force Ghost, Qui-Gon Jinn. Oh, I'm sorry. Her
Uh,
grandma. Yeah.
well, very Avatarish with that too, swimming up as
Yeah.
the
Of course.
glowing whale.
Mm, of
Loved it.
course. Yeah. That's again. Some of the best visuals are completely stolen from other things.
Yeah,
I
sure.
mean,
Why wouldn't they
especially
be?
the Force Ghost. Like, I mean, how many movies have done this in Star Wars? My God, man.
I mean, there was movies that did it before Star Wars,
Sure,
so
but like they did it the most successfully. It's just I wanted something different with Moana's character. I would have preferred something different rather than instead of being alone this time, she has a band of one of the coconut people, she has a couple of people who were frustratingly. I was like, stop cutting the ropes, you dumb girl. What are you doing?
so yeah, the ship designer lady whose name escapes me right now, but like she keeps chopping the sails
What
apart
are you
and
doing?
cutting down the masks and shit.
Do you know how the ocean works like at all? What are you doing? It's
Yes,
frustrating.
but also no.
I
I
did.
understand the dynamics of this ship. Also, we don't need this right this minute.
And I mean, I like Hey Hey. I like the pig on the adventure. But again, it's like to me, it's almost dead weight. Stuff that you have to include because it was successful in the first one. That again,
Yep.
to me, is like it feels like you're taking time away from the narrative, from the story that could actually be crafted to put our heroine through another event of circumstances that like would force her to make drastic decisions. But you can't with the old farmer on the boat, with her friend on the boat, with the pig and the chicken drumstick. You just can't do it,
Yep.
and that's what bothers me the most. And this whole weird thing with the person that was trapped by
In
the
the clam.
in the clam, which we don't see again after. Do we see her again
Well,
after?
like, look, hold up. So we don't see her after the curse is broken and she's released. Okay. Which is exactly why I think
Moana 3.
we will get a third Moana.
Okay, I'll give you that.
Because
Fair.
like that person has to have some value to them. Because if she doesn't, why ever bring her up? So, but one other thing too, before we keep going on this, Moana 2, when it was originally proposed, was supposed to be for Disney Plus. Did you know that?
I didn't, but that would have been a smart move for them. But it's making
Well,
tons of money, so
maybe because I mean, like, look, it's made by the end of this weekend. It'll have made its budget plus its thing all back already.
yes.
So like, they're gravy. And again, though, like we have no idea how they quantify how much money stuff makes on their own streaming service, which is also hemorrhaging money.
Yes.
So they need hits like this to keep that stuff going. But like I was thinking about that too, that if Moana was supposed to be for streaming and a character like that ends up being, just sort of a throwaway, it has less impact on the streaming thing, right? Than it does for the theatrical style.
I don't know. I mean, I would imagine you're not so far from right. I just don't know how right you are.
Okay.
I'll say it like that.
Well, because then I think about if anything like this ever ends up on Disney Plus, it's hard for me to think that they would get The Rock to do a lot of the stuff for the Disney Plus. But I mean, I guess that's what the paychecks are for. Um, with a thing like that, like you can put her in an episode, of their own little series, a year from now, and people are like, oh yeah, I remember that person, and it just is part of a spin-off thing. So maybe that could be a direction that they go with that.
I
But
mean, maybe I personally,
3 is where I think we see that
I
again.
would hope that I don't like this whole emphasis in How to Train Your Dragon I didn't agree with it. Remember on Netflix there was like a whole like mini series.
Isles of Burke. Yeah.
I'm not crazy about that if it doesn't
No,
have the original voice cast, which I don't know if it did or didn't. I watched maybe
it did
one or
not.
two episodes.
It had a few of the people, but like the A plus, like the highest people, no.
Why even that's the thing is this emphasis on I understand the emphasis on episodic because that leads to the greatest retention. However,
Yeah.
it's look how well it's working out for Star Wars. I mean, it's Disney, so it's appropriate to discuss on this episode. However, Star Wars has recently crossed it's not only unrecognizable, it's unsavable. You can't save Star Wars. It's now an impossible task unless
You know how you save Star Wars?
you retcon everything out.
No, you stop for a while.
You 10, 15 years, you do nothing.
5 minimum, baby. 5
I don't
minimum.
understand I don't understand I do understand it from like a commercial point of view and from like but I don't understand it from a uh creative point of view, the episodic versus the features. I think the features have greater reach. It's a one and done. You're not so, oh, there's 8-hour episodes of this. Do I really want to dedicate myself to that, or do I want to dedicate myself to one 90-minute film that my kids can watch over and over again? I just don't know. It's just, anyway. That was my little rant. Sorry.
Okay.
Maybe it would work. I don't even think anything like Moana works as episodic. I just
Well,
what are you
so
gonna
here's the
do?
thing.
What are you gonna do? Trials on
I
an island? I mean,
that's the thing. I have no idea. All I know that it was originally planned for that, and I think that could change some of the creative direction a little bit because you don't have to be as rigid with timelines. You don't have to. You can craft a story that's made for 4 hours and make you know 6 or 7 or 8 30-minute episodes of something and tell a deeper story that way.
sure. Well, let me ask you this: you and Chris love Dune.
Love it.
Have you guys watched the on Max the episodic?
I have not. I'm waiting for some episodes to say. However, I have not heard good stuff,
I haven't
which
either.
is also makes me sad.
But I mean, that's the problem is I don't
Yep.
think you care about it, and you and Chris were like leading the charge for Dune. You guys are some of the biggest
Well,
fans out there.
we are big Dune people. But so the other thing is too, if we want to talk about episodic for a second, and it is a bit of a sidebar, but so we are getting it is actively in development. It is happening. We are getting the episodic Harry Potter,
Yes.
which like look, again, when you step into the realm of like mythical storytelling, Harry Potter is really high up there. And to be able to take the books and adapt them to 8 or 9 hour long episodes instead of a 2 hour and 20-minute movie, you get to one, go further into individual characters. You get to go through actual storylines that don't get completely just cut out of the movies. And you get to world build all that you want, man.
I agree.
Like, I think Harry Potter is the perfect thing for that.
Well,
Perfect.
because it's got multiple books, of course it's perfect. There's
Yeah.
so much you can include. That's where we're getting a little off topic. You're not wrong though. You're not wrong, but it takes a certain kind of material or origin material for that to be
Yes.
doable. That's the thing. It's like even
Well, that's the thing. And Moana doesn't necessarily, to this point, have something like that.
no,
Which is also why I think with this part of the story for Moana, the story's pretty weak. Like they till the very end, there's no real danger, right?
never any danger to
Like,
begin with. Because of who's on the boat, there's never any real danger
yeah,
anyway.
not much happening,
That's the
man.
problem with you. You remove the tension. Well, I mean, they kind of amp up the stakes when Moana realizes humans have to do this because that's who she's trying to stop.
Yeah.
So like the stakes went up a little bit, but again,
We learned that at the 80-minute mark, by
again,
the way.
you're not going to sink the ship with a bunch of civilians on it. You're just not. So that's not how the story's
But
gonna
you
end.
can.
That's a choice that I would think about. But again, I'm not a creative lead there, so it doesn't matter. But I mean,
Nope.
it's the point. It's like you don't. That's why like How to Train Your Dragon is so because like they made amazing drastic decisions once a film at least, if not 2 or 3 times, by revealing someone, by killing someone, by really things that Hiccup had to wrestle with that made
Yep.
him a better chieftain for his people. And
Brother, when his dad dies in 2, I fucking cried like a baby.
thanks for the spoiler. I'm kidding. From 2014.
I'm not. Yeah, you shut up.
Dude,
Be
I
quiet.
did too. I did too. And I'm really excited if they're going to do that again.
No, and it's Gerard Butler, by the way. Did you know that?
That was on my mind. I was going to look that up as soon as we got done recording.
Yes.
Yes, he's
Yes.
awesome. But anyway, so back to Moana 2 is again to me, I think it's you've made the sin of Gladiator with Moana 2 is you've remade the first film just in kind of maybe a different, slightly bigger fashion, more money, but
less good.
somehow you've not managed to capture any of the magic that even the Dwayne Johnson song. He does have a song in this, but like
he does.
You're welcome. That first one is like it's very him, and it's very like that's The Rock singing a song.
Very larger than life feeling.
That's the thing.
Well, so
you don't have that anymore.
Well, let's talk about the music in this one. So, like, there's only a couple of songs. Like, there's not as many. It doesn't feel like there's as many as the first one, and none of them really stand out. Like, you made the joke already. Like, you just watched it 2 days ago and don't really remember any of it, brother. I watched it this afternoon.
You still remember?
I don't really remember any of it.
I knew you wouldn't because you don't. I'm the
It's
guy.
just not that
No.
like, and nobody in the theater was like, sometimes like the little kids getting into it because like, look, I went to what was a relatively no, I won't say four packed, but like there was a good bit of people in my theater, and like even with like little kids, they weren't really like dancing and singing or whatever, and like and it's stuff I expect to see, and it just wasn't happening
I
because
agree.
like you couldn't draw in the little kids, like you definitely ain't got me.
I would agree with you that I mean the little kids in my showing they were digging it, but they were little. That was the
Yeah,
target. Like they were gonna like it regardless of what happened. The colors were great. There was song and dance. Like you had them anyway. It wasn't. There's no. The thing is, there's no depth to a movie like this. And I'll tell you what could have. Just give me just 30 seconds here. Is
sure.
a very easy way to make the stakes is like Maui is a demigod who enjoys living forever, who enjoys being a demigod. He enjoys the power. We've already covered this. If you
Hmm.
add in the second film, well, to save these people, to save Moana, he's going to have to give up his demigod status, become immortal, become
Yeah.
a not immortal, but a mortal. He's going to have to make that choice. Something like that happens, but it isn't dressed up like that. He doesn't make the choice, but it really kind of is kind of ambiguous as to like in this film, like, well, I mean, I guess you could interpret it that way, but did not, and I'm the guy who wants to. So if I didn't, no one's going to. And the big dramatic moment that happens with him and Moana beneath the sea level is, again, it's one of those that I think falls flat because the movie doesn't build it up, it doesn't earn it, it doesn't preface it with much of stakes. And without
Well,
stakes, nothing means anything.
the only thing you get meaningfully at the bottom of the ocean is when like you see the whole like all the ancestors like appear,
Or
and
stolen from Frozen 2,
which
but yes,
sure, stolen from a lot of stuff.
sure. Most recently,
Stolen
Frozen
from
2.
lots of stuff, but it's like seeing that happen, it was like visually it looks cool, so like that's all right, but like we didn't think she wasn't coming back, right?
No.
Nobody thought that.
No one thought Moana in a Moana movie was not coming back. Just
No,
sorry to burst your bubble, I don't wanna be that guy, but
no, it's not gonna be there,
again, but they
man.
could have toyed with that's the magic. That's the whole reason I wanted to talk about some of the better movies from a time long past, even the '90s, like, those
Hmm.
stakes when you watch The Lion King, when you watch Aladdin, when you watch Beauty and the Beast, that is always in play. Those
Yeah,
occurrences that the title character could die are always in play until the film ends. There's
yeah.
always a possibility. The film doesn't take that from you. In these more recent films, none of that's possible because it just doesn't. There's no gravitas on screen. Ironically, with a movie with a character voiced by Dwayne Johnson, one of the
Yeah,
biggest movie stars we've ever had.
yeah.
It's just one of the most marketable, one of the most successful movie stars ever. There's no gravitas, and
Nope.
that is the real shame. And I mean, I really am talking about Moana, but the first one I thought was a very good movie.
Yeah, no, it's great, man.
It's in the upper echelon of the Disney stuff, and the characters made it that way. It's that odd but awesome combination of a demigod who knows better. He's afraid of other gods because he's not as powerful as they are, and then the young, heroic heroine who's like, "Let's go do this. Let's do it right now."
Yep,
And then like there's that weird combination of they both have to learn each other. They both have to figure out how not to
yep,
get the other killed. But in this one, there's just none of it. Like she's so steadfast, stoic all the time that it's almost kind of like the character of Moana in this film was
it's boring.
almost boring because
Boring.
it's got nothing tied to it.
Nope. You never once felt like she actually wasn't gonna make it through. So, which is something like in the first one, like maybe she was, maybe she wasn't.
I
So
agree, and it's the scene that she wasn't was in this film. That's the
yeah.
odd part. It wasn't even in the other film. I wish
So
the scenes with the elders sorry, with the descendants
yep.
would have been a little more powerful. I wish grandma would have brought her back instead of Maui. I wish so many things, so many little changes, things would have happened that it's just, again, you could have done the Maui thing where like because he won the first time in the first film, he thinks he's a demigod that is not to be trifled with, and then he gets into a
Hmm.
position where, well, he's trifled with and he's stripped of all of his powers because of it. Now he's immortal, but it's a decision
Yep.
he had to make to save Moana. It's just
Absolutely. Which is also something that we have seen before.
sure, but that's
So
not an original concept ever, so it doesn't matter. But
okay.
yeah,
So let me ask you, let me shift direction here just a little bit.
okay,
So Moana came out in 2016.
8 years
Okay.
ago.
8 year. Well, that's the where the direction I'm going. Who is this movie for?
You mean the sequel Moana 2?
Yes.
See, that's
So
a good question.
assume you saw you're 7 years old, young little girl, and your mom and dad took you to see Moana, and you fucking love it,
Fair.
right? You're now 15,
Yeah.
16 years old. Do you care about Moana at all?
There's a chance you probably don't.
I mean, it's more than likely that it's you don't care. Now, listen, if you still have little brothers and sisters, maybe, but like you're spaced out too far. Like, I mean, I saw a lot of kids under 5 in my theater, and like
Yeah.
they weren't like in groups of families with kids much older than that. You know, like if they saw them original Moana, I believe they probably had, but it's only through like Disney Plus or on DVD or something like that.
I
You
would
know, like they
yeah,
weren't around for the first one.
you're
So
not
like
wrong.
that makes me wonder like what's the prime age demographic? Because like this isn't one of the ones that I think is more geared towards families. I think this is more geared towards kids this time.
It is geared towards kids,
So
but that's a I know we've talked about it before, at least the 3 of us, we've discussed it at length, is Frozen, for example, I think gets around that for the same reason why Wicked is so popular right now is because girls age 10 or 30 love those characters. They loved Elsa and
sure,
Anna, they love Wicked. That's why like Elsa and Anna are sequel proof because either if it's a 7-year-old like you used or they've aged up to be a 17-year-old, it doesn't matter.
yeah.
They're going to watch that movie because of
The characters persevere.
I
Yes,
don't think Moana is quite in that same vein. I just don't. I mean, not to say that she is less of a heroine than anyone. I
no,
don't
no,
think that.
she's a great princess, but like,
Which,
which is
by
a
the
joke
way,
they actually
yeah,
make in the show.
yeah, she's
Yeah,
not a
which
princess.
I actually laughed.
I did too.
But like, she is a great Disney princess, Disney character, however we want to put it. It's just like she's not really aging to be in multiple sequels. Where at least with the Frozen ladies, they are noticeably aging
Well,
forward.
the seeds have been sown to age them forward, and
Yes,
I was hoping Moana would be a little, maybe not like I don't think she has to be married and have like
I mean
12 kids.
Elsa needs to be tried for her war
Sure,
crimes
sure, but it's the thing is,
against her own people.
but like imagine like the weird kind of clever writing you could have done with, instead of that guy who was obsessed with Maui, what if he was obsessed with Moana as
Well, so that's
teenagers
something that
do?
so that is a
You know,
seed that I think they somebody had to have been like, we should do that,
they didn't.
and somebody's probably like, I don't know, man,
Well, because they
I don't
that's why Disney's
know.
obsessed with this. I am, this young female princess or sorry, a young princess who's like a badass chick, which is there's nothing wrong with that. Except
No,
like
it's absolutely what they should have.
but like those kind of badass chicks do occasionally opt to have families and they opt to like they do that stuff, which why don't I
Well,
don't understand why they don't.
the other point about why I think that they don't do something like that with this one, because like, look, it's their character; they can do whatever they want to with it. It's fine. Is if they start pushing you down that route, that means she has to age
Sure, yeah, you're not
because she
wrong.
can't be 14 anymore or 16 or whatever she's
Well, I don't think
supposed to
she
be.
was. I think she was several years older because of the younger sister. I think that's
Well, so I mean, so what? She's 14, so she's what, 17
oh,
now?
let's just say anywhere from 16 to 18. Sure.
Sure,
Okay. Yeah, but
but
that makes sense. And like,
I mean, like, but you have to progress her down the line
and
a
Maui
little
could
bit
have been
because,
like
like,
that weird
you
brother.
can't be getting married and having families and popping out babies at 16 anymore,
No,
buddy.
well,
Like, well,
well,
it's not a picture they're ever going to
no,
try to paint anyway.
no, but like Maui could have been like a weird like protector father figure to her because the
Sure,
guy was a raging teenager, which is what teenage dudes do. But they just
but he's not. It's not that way at all.
but it's a simple fix. Is my point.
He's more into Maui, so
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
good for him.
Maui's into Maui's tattoo. He does the
Yeah,
wrong
hey,
like
hey, 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 hey,
doesn't
hey.
he do like the like
The peck pop.
the nipple peck pop thing? Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
he does grab his own nipple, by the way, which
he
is hilarious.
and his tattoo gives him a purple nurple, which I thought was pretty
Yeah,
funny too.
that's what someone's talking about. Yeah, he's like, nah, you better calm it down, brother.
Again, I don't know how this movie was even pitched, like how they were. I mean, maybe the first one made such an extraordinary amount of money that like they would have been foolish not to make a sequel.
Yeah, so I think maybe they were surprised by how much Moana really carried through and made as much money as it did. That they're just like, we always have to have the idea of having that going forward. Maybe.
Maybe I mean, that's a possibility. But there's a lot of other things too, like questions, like what is so these people that Moana as a wayfinder is are she's actively looking for to connect the people of the sea, where then do we go with the third Moana film? That was your suggestion that the third one definitely could exist.
They have to find like an actual continent.
But who's the villain? What's the struggle of the third film then?
I here's the thing. At some point, the villain will have to be other people, just because that's how those stories always go. But like we have other mythical characters that are just out there in the ether for these people. That like we released one from a curse. You think she's not evil?
Well, I
Like
mean,
you don't get locked in a prison when you don't do anything wrong.
or you don't get locked in a prison and harbor resentment and
Yes.
hate towards like people. I totally understand
Yes.
that. Which I was surprised they didn't do more with her character because like she was kind of cool and mysterious, and that was like what Moana 2 needed at that point, was cool and
Yep.
mysterious, and like what's she gonna do, kind of unpredictable. It's just I guess I'm a little disappointed that we didn't get more with this movie, especially the star power. I mean, the young girl voicing Moana, she's a star, man. Like she's got a good line delivery. She knows how to
Auli'i
deliver lines.
Cravalho is her
She's
name. Yep.
good. I would have wanted to her explore Moana more. Like it just I don't know. I'm wishing for
The
more
first
after
Moana
this
made
film.
about 645
Off of what
domestic.
budget?
I don't know. Hang on.
So I don't think that's as extraordinary as I may have, but like it's still. I mean, the
I mean,
budget was
650 is a big number though.
if the
So
budget was 100 or 150, that's massive profit. Sure. It's just there's so many things that I would have thought the movie would have done differently.
it says about 150 as well. So I mean, 4 times his budget, four and a half.
So right now, 300 million, you clear both Moana films budget wise, and it's
Yep.
made probably at this point a little north of 900 million. Probably
Well, yeah. So that's the thing. Assuming that it cruises to another 300 million.
well
I mean,
over a
that means
billion.
between the 2 million, the two movies, it's $1 billion budget or $1 billion take.
That's
I mean,
pretty
that's a
good. Yeah,
win.
that's definitely a win.
It's a win.
That's definitely a
So,
win. It's I wish we'd have done a smaller cast. I wish we'd have done more focused
well,
on.
here's the thing. I have no problem with the cast. I don't think the cast is overblown or anything. I wish we'd have gotten a stronger story.
That's
Like
well,
that.
that's the thing.
That's really truly the issue here.
With all those
It's
people on
just not
with
great.
all those people on the boat, you could have had a stronger story that involved more of them more often than just again Maui and Moana. If you're gonna have them on the boat, then they have to do something. Hey, I think was the one that actually did the most outside of those two.
Yeah,
Hey did quite a bit. Well, I guess the woman did put that ship. The girl did put that ship
she
together.
did build a boat out of shipwreck stuff,
Yeah.
so it's impressive.
Yeah, it's weird how they cannibalize their own movies so blatantly. It's like I mentioned Frozen 2 for the Ghost of the Ancestors. Not that that's a concept that's strictly Frozen 2 and Disney, but like that's
No,
where it
no,
was
no.
done recently and done very well. It's like
Hmm.
they cannibalize their own movies by taking the ideas and putting them in others. It's just I don't know. Maybe I'm rethinking my thumbs up, but I mean I'm gonna stick with that. I do think it's worth
You're already
watching.
committed. I have it on camera.
I do, I do think it's worth watching, and I mean I do. It's a beautiful movie. It really
Sure,
is,
looks great.
and you get more of these guys, which is always these aren't like. Whenever I see something like this, the first thing I think of is Ewoks. Are they going to be as annoying as the Ewoks? But these guys aren't. They're not. Or the Minion. The Minions are my new like. I cannot stand the Minions.
What do you think a minion tastes like?
I don't know. Why'd you ask chicken? I don't know.
I always ask that to people
Jello
because
must
I get a wide variety of answers.
What have
The
you?
most common is banana, by the
Well,
way, and I think that's just because they're yellow, and
yeah,
that's
yeah.
kind of
That's
stupid,
color association.
borderline racist,
I
honestly.
mean, let's not go there, but yeah, fair. Yeah, I like. I don't know if like part of me wishes that these. I like the fact that the chieftain was like one of the warriors was on the. I like the
Yeah.
like the warrior salute to other warriors. I thought that was
Yep.
an interesting idea that they could have
Sure.
used more of too.
Respect.
Which in an old ancient tribe like that would have meant the world to those people. To get that respect from another warrior tribe would have been huge, man.
Sure.
I mean, I wish we'd have done more with that. I wish we'd have seen more of it. I wish this guy had taken two of his friends and one of them died, and then when he got back, all he was able to give him back was the spear. But his people knew they sacrificed him to save. Like it just
Or give him back his little
his little,
mask.
yeah, like give him like
Yeah.
but like he saved us from like Moana could say like here's the map, but he allowed us all to get away.
He saved
Like
us.
so then
Yes.
she gives them respect back. Like she does it. Like that's beautiful. Like I'm getting chills right now thinking about it. But it's
How
little
much
things
better
like
of a
that.
thing that could have been? Sure. I get that.
But I mean, I also don't know how much was cut out of like, well, we could do this, 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 and this, and like how much was like, nope, we're not doing any of that. So who knows?
We're like, we have 95 minutes,
Yeah.
people. That's enough.
So I guess
Stop drawing.
final thoughts going into the our final thoughts of Moana 2 is it could have been more. It should have been
Yeah,
more.
so I mean, I wholly believe it could have been better. Like I said, though, it looks great. The story is just it's soft. Like it's not really there. I don't really hold it against it too much because like look, I understand this movie's not really geared towards me. It's not supposed to be, and that's fine. But like this story is noticeably weaker than the story from your first film,
Yeah.
which is it's a sequel footfall or misstep that happens all the time. And my theory is if you can't make a story that's as good or better for a sequel, then you shouldn't be making a sequel. But
Well, if the idea doesn't come to you organically through the other film, you shouldn't then don't make a
no,
sequel. It's got to be the story has to be there, and the characters have to lend themselves to the creation of that
there
sequel.
there wasn't anything after the credits for this or anything, was there?
I
Because
didn't.
I didn't
I gotta be
I didn't
honest.
stick
I did
around.
not stick around.
Here's the thing. I don't get the vibe that there was, but
There may have been, but
it's
I had
probably
no.
something stupid with the chicken.
Or this guy, or these things, you know.
Sure,
You
same
know, it's
point.
funny. I still so to this day, I still tell people that each of the Pirates of the Caribbean films have something after the credits, and everyone's like, "Are you serious?" I never once like that. Was that before that started? Was that before like the post credits thing started?
I don't know. One of the first things, giving our namesake, one of the first post credit things that like I didn't know about for 100 years. Do you know what it was?
What was it?
The first Fast and Furious movie.
I still don't know. What's in the
Oh, you don't know that.
what's
So all the way at the end of the
what is
credits,
it?
at the end of the very first Fast and Furious movie, right? It's this Dom driving through Mexico.
Well, that makes
Just,
sense.
yeah, but I'm like, it fits, but you didn't know it was there, did you?
I did not. And the
The only reason I knew this is because when I was in college, I had had too many drinks and I had passed out while watching
Fast and
Fast and Furious. And I woke up and the credits were playing, and like I was like blurry eyed, and all of a sudden it was just like Toretto was just driving through Mexico.
you were like, "I never saw this. Oh my god."
Yeah.
That actually,
So
I
like,
mean, the target demographic
yeah,
for that film would have been people who liked seeing muscle cars being
sure,
driven. That would have
of
it
course,
would have been fine for
yeah,
them, but
it works.
that was
It's not
way
like,
before that post all that
oh
after
yeah,
credit stuff happened. For the most part, I can't say that for everything, but
yeah, it's 25 years ago, man.
yeah. So
Oh
yeah, I wish we'd have gotten more with Moana 2. It could have been
yeah,
better, but that's cool.
yeah. Deep
That's cool.
down, deep down, it's fine. Just wish it was a little bit stronger.
I would agree. I would agree. Well, thank you, Roger, for joining me for this discussion
Hey
of
man, sounds good. Send us out, brother.
episode 6 of Post Credits Podcast, a podcast where we talk about movies.
We
Um,
do.
we appreciate you sticking with us through this transition period. We're working to get everything up and running as normal. We will be on all of the usual suspects, such as Apple Podcasts, Podbean, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and YouTube. We're already there on some. We're working on others.
Yes,
I hope
sir.
you're enjoying the new discussions as much as we are giving them to you. So again, thank you
Having a
very
good
much.
time doing this, man.
Thank you,
Rocking and rolling.
thank you very much for listening.